All right. Welcome, everybody, to the School of Heaven and Earth podcast. I'm Crystal,
I'm Matthew.
and today we are extremely excited to bring you one of my absolute favorite teachers, just an absolute genius. Honored to have her here. She's the arc poet, mistress of meter. She is the goddess of rhythm and joy embodied, Annie Finch. And we're gonna tell you. Well, I guess maybe I'll just keep talking a little bit about Annie. Um, Annie's books were absolutely instrumental in my education. She's written so much on form, so much on meter. She's the only person that I know who can channel in meter. Those of you who know me and know our work know that I came in through witchcraft, through poetry, and finding Annie, who is also she's a lineage, grew up with the power of the witch and the goddess in her blood, and has been weaving that into her poetry for a really long time. So just absolutely honored to have her here. Thank you so very much for joining us, Annie. And Matthew is going to give us the astrological weather for this podcast today.
Yeah, so currently the moon is in the sign of Pisces, and is actually building up towards a pretty big conjunction that's going to be happening tomorrow. It's just a conjunction between Venus and Saturn and the moon, and they will all be conjoined in the exact same degree. It's a super close conjunction, so there's a lot that you could unpack with that. I'm not going to get into, but it's essentially really, really good for exploring the depths and getting really, really deep in conversation in a way that is also clear and helps excavate real truths. So we're building up to that now. It's a cool moment. One of the cooler alignments of the year.
Wonderful. Yeah. Is this the one that's going to look like the smiley face
This is the
in the
smiley
sky? So
face.
this
This
we're
is
leading up
yeah.
to the moment where there's a big smile in the sky, which we could all use considering the political and socioeconomic times.
Yeah.
And so also a beautiful plant that Annie has brought in with us today is blue vervain, which is also a fantastic remedy for the political and socioeconomic times, as well as conversation. So vervain, blue vervain is one of the there's a triumvirate of sacred herbs in the particularly the Irish Celtic tradition, and blue vervain, or vervain because it's a slightly different vervain that they have in Ireland, was a really important one and is still known, was known for a long time in circles as the wizard herb or the wizard plant. And it was a panacea, it was a heal-all for a very long time. And it's not used like that now. Now it's used a lot for stress, burnout, fatigue. It's a beautiful women's fertility herb, and is, yeah, just brings a lot of magic into our systems, particularly communication magic. It's a beautifying herb, and it's a very strong air sign herb. So it's a beautiful herb for poets. So Annie, do you want to talk a little bit about blue vervain? Yeah,
I
and then
love
we'll
it.
just launch into the podcast and your work.
Okay. Well, I'm going to confess that when you said to me, "What plant do you want to drink together?" I have all kinds of plants. In fact, I even have a little tea company we're starting with, like a blend
Oh,
for each of the
very
five
cool.
directions. So I love plants, and but I had not really gotten the vervain thing. I didn't understand how powerful it was. And you in your email said blue vervain, and I was like, immediately my heart leapt. I was like, yes! And I didn't even know what it was. And I had to go and arrange for my herbalist up the street, who I adore, to like make a special thing so I could pick it up. And then you were like, you had it in your house, and I didn't say anything, but actually I didn't have it in my house. I had it. I had to arrange to pick it up from my massage therapist who works out of my herbalist, who was right up the street, and I had to like go get it at 9:30 in the morning to make sure I had it and drank it. And as soon as I tasted it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is powerful. It was like a doorway. And then I was researching it as a gateway cleanser. And it, like it felt that way. Like it was so perfect. And I just knew that I wanted to drink it at this conversation because I wanted to open that space. And it just kind of took my heart and kind of opened it in a way that was joyful without any it was joyful and at the same time incredibly I don't know, it's hard to put a word on it, grounded, right? Like um
Yeah.
it's so powerful. So powerful. It's like it won't let you get away with anything. But if you're really clear, it's gonna just take you anywhere you need to go. Like it is a no nonsense herb. It's fantastic. I'm so excited about it. So
Yeah,
thank you.
it opens, yeah. I mean, in being the wizard, it opens portals and was used traditionally for prophecy, right? Like
Yes,
it's an
right.
herb, as you're saying, like opening the channels. It's a to open the gateways for channeling, for those important communications that need to come through from the
Yeah.
from the other side.
Yeah. And as we're talking today, at first I was thinking, because I have, I'm sure we'll talk more about the five directions that I use for kind of everything I do, including meter and poetry, but also for ritual and just for life. And so as soon as I tasted it, I always think in terms of these five directions. Would this be like an east thing or whatever, or a south thing, for opening up the will, or east for clarity? And then I was like, no, and I'm even wondering about the recipes for the teas that we've been developing for the five directions. Like, would it go in one of them? It's like, no, this actually goes for all of them. It feels
Ooh.
to me like it opens all the directions, which makes sense because, as a poet prophet, you want to be open to all of the forces out there. And yeah, it's perfect. It kind of reminds me of the way Ganesh is used in Hindu
Oh,
spirituality. No matter what goddess or god you're interacting with, you always say hello to Ganesh first and you
yeah,
honor Ganesh. Ganesh
to
opens the
clear the
gate
yeah.
and is also about communication and wisdom and scholarship and um, just a kind of general, like, okay, I'm ready. Here I am. It's kind of like that to me. It feels that way. It's fantastic. I
It's
love it.
it's so true. And it's actually something that even though I've worked with blue vervain quite a bit, because it's a specific for people like me who hold a lot of tension and like neck and shoulders and like kind of like want to be up here, which is a lot of people who do like prophetic and oracular work, right?
Right.
But you like you said, she doesn't let you get away with anything. She wants you to be grounded, right? Like she wants you to be surrendered. So she helps you like
Yeah.
hold that space while still, you know, allowing yourself to be like held by the earth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, like I was saying before, joy, but without, like, it's all of them. So, in my five directions, which I have on my tattoo here,
Oh,
it's, very
beautiful.
just based on the sacred circles, but I go counterclockwise: will, mind, body, heart, spirit. And it's like in all of these ways, I feel like the vervain is right there. Like it's there with the will. Like you can't get away with not being, willful, just burning with that fire. And the clarity of the mind and the air and the groundedness of the body, as you were saying.
Right.
And the heart needs to be completely clear and open. And
Mhm.
this Joe spirit needs to be just, ready, available for the work. So all of those five directions have to be there. And yeah, I agree. She doesn't let you get away with any of them not to be fully as present as you can make them.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love that. And I really feel like you're channeling like the reason that it was one of those three most sacred herbs of the Druids, right? And that it can,
Wow.
provide everything that you need, right? To
Wow.
be, yeah. So that's
Yeah. Was mistletoe another of them?
mistletoe is really important, but it wasn't part of the triumvirate. The triumvirate, which it comes from, we can get more into this later, but it comes from the myth of flower face, right? Which is how we get this, but it's a watermint, meadowsweet, and vervain.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
They
That's
come
sweet.
together.
Huh.
And yeah, meadowsweet's another really beautiful one that grows around here. And of course, but I really would love to transition to talking
Yeah.
about your work with meter, because we can talk about, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure we could freestyle all day, but if we could like weave this back
We
into,
could, we could.
you know
But
but
but it's spring and the flowers have been acknowledged and the plants have been acknowledged, which I love. So
yeah,
very, very happy to do that. Yeah.
absolutely. So with your work with the five directions, I feel like, allowing the herbs to bring us back into the the rhythms, right? Like those foundational rhythms of life. We were talking about, blue vervain is one of the tools that helps us to move into, move into the trance states, move into oracular states. But the most fundamental portal that we have as humans into those states, right? And through that beautiful wheel of life is, is rhythm, right? Like is meter, right? And the way that we, the way that we use the magic of our words, right? And the manifestation power of our words.
I would say in our humanity, I would say that. I mean, of course, fundamentally we have, I mean, for me, I haven't yet found any other that isn't included in these five, the will, mind, body, heart, spirit. And I just want to say that this is fairly recent for me, like in the last 10, 15 years, because for the longest time, like most people that I knew in the witch world or whatever, it was about the four directions or maybe the seven. But, the center was considered kind of like an extra thing or a combination thing. And then there wasn't really a way of understanding it. It was like, in terms of the way we usually talk about being a human being, right? We talked about we talked about mind, body, spirit, mind, body, heart, and spirit, heart and soul, maybe. But the will, people didn't really talk about, right? Except in that kind of witch phrase, if it harms no one, do as you will. And so it was when I finally realized the will had to be there as a fifth quality that everything changed and made a lot more sense and everything snapped into place, really. Um, and so I find one of the trickiest things when I'm teaching with these meters is to remind people that the will exists and you can honor it in our culture. It's just not really necessarily honored, and it's its own thing. It kind of sneaks up in the body, or it sneaks up with like codependence in the heart, or it sneaks up in the mind with ideology, or overthinking, and then it's comes up in the spirit with fanaticism. But it's so incredible when you make a space for the will and really honor it. Other things kind of fall into place. So it's been really wonderful for me. But yeah, in terms of the meters, so I would say that's almost the fundamental thing. And then the meters, to me, they are the fundamental. I mean, I guess you could say, there are so many other things that also correspond with these different forces, right? There's colors, um, there's the plants, there's movements, but there's something about meter because it takes words and it puts the words into rhythm. And it's the words are our way of thinking and our way of communicating and our way of, really preserving our communities over time. So words it seem to be very fundamental to our sense of being human. And so by taking that and bringing it into tune with the different rhythms, I think that's where the magic really happens. It's kind of left brain, right brain, overlap or intersection. It's like this special place where the left and the right brain are in the mystery together. So that's where meters come from for me. Yeah. So I would agree with you, but I'm just not sure that a lot of people would say, like you just said, that they are the fundamental. But I do feel that the connection to language maybe has something to do with that.
Right. And the heart, right? Like the rhythm of the heart with the rhythm of the breath, right? And like
The
allowing
breath, the body. Yeah, it's right
it's to
in our
harmony.
bodies. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The rhythms of rocking a baby back and forth, the rhythms of dancing, of sex, of chewing your food, swallowing. I mean, all of these things have a rhythm to them, right? The day. I mean, it's just so obvious in a way. And
I mean,
it's just shocking to me that,
I
oh,
mean, a
go
lot
ahead.
of the oldest recorded religious practices heavily feature meter. I mean, of course, the Vedas, which are one of our oldest written religious texts, have something like 9 different formal forms of meter, which not even the Greeks have that many. I mean, it's so you're going back
Yeah.
3,000 years. Priests and religious practitioners are using meter. It's encoded into their ritual.
Yeah, exactly. And the more I've been exploring oral-based cultures around the world, every culture that I've found that's like an oral-based culture, which usually means a matriarchal
Matriarchal.
culture,
Yeah.
right? In fact, in my experience, always means a matriarchal culture. They all use meter in ceremony, which makes total sense because if it's oral based, there's that. But also, so I even have a little shorthand for this, which is meter is the language of the gods, or meters. I always use plural now for meters
Mhm.
because metrical diversity, as you were saying, is key to the most ancient uses of meter and the most sacred uses of meter. There's always more than one, many meters. So meters are the language of the goddess, is how I'm now putting it. That matriarchal cultures worship the divine feminine. They use metrical diversity, as I'm calling it now, when I teach it in English. So yeah, you're right. But I'm so curious about these 9 meters because in my time in India, and the time that I've spent trying to understand more about Sanskrit meter, I've heard people say there are, 140 or something, over 100 Sanskrit meters. And I'm thinking, how can that possibly be? And I finally figured out that it seems they're not what we would call like when I think of the 5 basic meters, they're stickic meters. They continue, um, they just go on and on and on. You could write like a whole book in this 1 meter, right? Like iambic pentameter, for example,
Mhm.
or dactylic hexameter, or anapestic trimeter. But then when I think of these Sanskrit meters, when they say over 100, I think what they're referring to is what I would call a cadence. That's a word I've
Yes.
developed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
distinguish a
Yeah.
pattern, more like the sapphic meter, like where you have a trochee, trochee, dactyl, trochee, trochee, like a pattern made of combining the others. Would you say that's
That's it. The nine are these different kind of permutations of long and short syllables, which then just for people
yeah,
who are totally don't know even what meter is, it's
Thank you.
basically just different versions of long and short syllables kind of
yeah.
combined
Or in
with
English,
So what?
stressed and unstressed.
stressed and
Yeah.
unstressed.
So what are they exactly? I mean, I imagine there's a long,
I
short,
don't
short,
remember
short,
off the
short,
top of my
long.
Hold on
Okay,
one second, but
because
before we
I've got, I think I've got 6, and I'm
It
really
might be
curious
six.
what is
It might
wrong.
be six. I remember it.
I mean, in
I've got
English
the
we've got
text.
6,
I've
but
got the textbook over there. I don't want to get
oh, good. Well,
it, but it is
later I'd love, maybe we can put it in the show notes. It
it
would
might
be
just be
wonderful to
six.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
let's definitely put in the show notes. But
Yeah.
I
also, I
hope it's
would
9.
love for the listeners, Annie, if you could take us through, if you could explain for people who don't know
Sure,
just the fundamentally what meter is, particularly in the English language.
sure. I'd love to. Um, so I mean, every language has a meter as far as it's every language has a meter. I mean, it just does. Um, and that meter is always based on something that's meaningful in the language. So, like in Chinese, meter is based on tone because tone is a very meaningful aspect of Chinese. Like the difference between ni hao ma and ni hao ma is like a
Mhm.
totally different word. So tone is used in their meter. So in English, accent is really crucial to our sense of meaning, right? Like if you say desert or dessert, they're completely different words because of the accent, right? So accent is the meaningful aspect of English meter. So that so it's almost like in a computer language where you have the dots and the bytes or whatever they're called. Do they still call them that?
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
yeah. So you have the and then I'm totally blanking. I'm so sorry on your name, Crystal's beautiful husband. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
Matthew.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew. Okay. Yeah. So as Matthew was saying, it's like these they can be combined into all these different patterns. So in English meter, you have the basic patterns would be because there's an accent every other syllable or every third syllable. I mean, as you're talking normally, like as you're talking normally, I'm alternating stressed and unstressed syllables. As you're talking normally, about every 2 or 3 syllables, you're going to find an accent. So, and you can tell they're accented because they're louder, they're longer, they're higher pitched, they're somehow stressed. Or your body might, if you're talking with your hands, you're more likely to accentuate with at those points when this meter is stressed. So so these have just been abstracted into these patterns, and that's how we have, and it's incredible because we naturally do this when we're talking, right? We naturally do this when we're talking, and especially when we're excited about something. And so what I've been discovering over my decades and decades of love for meter as a witch and as a poet is that it's not an accident when we fall into different kinds of patterns. So if, well, we'll get into that a little bit more later, but it's just really interesting when someone is very thinking really hard, they're likely to talk in iambic meter, like bum, 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 bum. I really think that that's what you should do, you know?
Ah.
But then if you hear somebody saying, like, I just heard somebody the other day giving some political speech, and at this one moment, you know, it's pretty easy to tune your ears so you begin to notice when something happens in a regular way. And at this one moment, this in the middle of a speech that was just prose, all of a sudden the person slipped into whoever the heck it was. Was it Pete Hegseth? I can't remember. But somebody was talking about the military, and all of a sudden they were talking in dactylic rhythm, which is in my
Mhm.
system the meter of the heart. And I'm like, whoa, this person is really in their heart deeply feeling the military. What was it like? I thought I'll just make up and it's something. It might have been like
Could you
something
tell
like
us, could you tell us what, could you tell us
what
the
that meter is.
dactylus meter and like maybe give us an
Yeah,
example?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like uh, the phrases. What I use my terms for these are wands and cups. So wands would be the accents, and cups would be the softer syllables that are shorter, softer, and lower pitch. So the dactyl would be one cup, cup, one cup, cup, one cup, cup. Like if you know Longfellow's poem Evangeline, this is the forest primeval, bump, 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 bump. And I could think of this as the meter of the heart. And it does seem to be that over all the years that I've been working with it, it's held up. And this Pete or whoever it was just saying something like, um, strength of our nation and da da da, da, just clearly they were talking from the heart and they slipped into that rhythm. So we do it just naturally. So yeah, the way I have been teaching these six basic meters are some of them, there's like two rising, two falling, two rocking. So the rising ones, like you'd expect, it's every two syllables or three syllables, you'll have the wand. So it's cup one, which is an iambic meter, um, like Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Cup one, cup one, cup one, cup one, cup one. The other rising meter would be anapestic, like on the night before Christmas, cup, cup, wand, 'twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, bum, bum, bum. And then there's two falling ones, the triple falling and the double falling. The triple falling would be the dactyls, like we just said. This is the forest primeval. The double falling would be trochees, like Poe's the Raven, once upon a midnight dreary, bum, 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 bum. Or that's actually dipodic, which alternates strong and weak, so it sounds a little more complex. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. But a simpler version would be another poem by Poe, for example. Not Poe. We'll take Blake's The Tiger is my favorite trochaic poem. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. I love that meter. The trochaic, the meter of the body. And then there's two rocking meters, the amphibrach and the cretic. So the amphibrach is cup one, cup, cup one, cup, cup one, cup. And the cretic is one cup one cup one cup one. Those are both way more obscure. I've written poems in those meters and I'm teaching them to my students, and we're starting to populate the world with poems in those other meters.
Mhm.
To me, those are both meters of the spirit because the goddess has, you know, the dark and the light, the death and the life. So there are two meters there in the center. That makes a total of six. And
I
there
feel
are
like
some
most
others.
people probably remember from high school only learning four, right?
Yes, if that. I mean,
If that.
usually the only ones that you spend any time with at all, the only one is iambic, right? So that's one of the really interesting things about English is that we're such a young language, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we really only came about, with the Norman conquest and what came after that, the gradual infusion of French words into the Germanic, because 40% of our words now are French.
Yeah.
So really, Middle English is so different. So the language that we have now, it works just like Sanskrit does, which is kind of amazing because I don't think our meter really developed out of Sanskrit in that way, even though French and Germanic are both Indo-European languages. But it was through the combination of them that we ended up with this accentual syllabic um, system of meter, which is so fluid and has the potential to be completely metrically diverse in the way that, say, Sanskrit is. And yet we're not using that at all. We basically, at the moment, poets are just iambic or nothing, iambic
Nothing,
or
yeah.
chaos. Any other meter is considered a meter for kids. It's just, not taken seriously at all, except by me, honestly, and random occasional other people. I edited this book, Measure for Measure, an anthology of poetic meters, about 12 years ago, and it had been a dream I'd been having for 20 years before that, to collect poems in different meters and organize the book by meter. And it was really hard to find poems that were in these other meters over the centuries in English. Really hard. I was begging my students to
I was
just to find enough of them to make a book. And then after the book came out, people were saying, "Oh, it's a really good book, but she should have more poems in those non-iambic meters." Yeah, you think?
so
So
it's a
funny.
call out, and I want to like I still like
Yeah.
it's sad for me because I even though I have studied your books and absolutely love and adore you, I still have a hard time gaining the like confidence, right? To like write a
Yeah.
meter. Like I'm still in the process of trying to like embody the meter.
Oh, it
Yeah.
takes time. I mean, I've been teaching this forever, and people come to me with, first of all, there's baggage. There is really literal cultural baggage. I mean, it's such a complex of forces against metrical diversity.
I
It
feel
is
that.
not an easy thing. You might think, oh, well, you just pick it up and write. No, if you're a serious poet in any way, or a serious, open artistic person, you don't just like pick it up and write it. Like you're not going to treat it like, they used to make fun of greeting card verse, which I think is not fair. But, you don't just want to treat it like a little exercise. You'd want to channel it, and the resistance to doing that is immense, often because there's shaming, there's fears, not only
Yeah.
directly of meter, like a lot of people come to me with horror stories of teachers who just shamed them because it was childish or effeminate or
Yep.
silly or goofy or too easy or not real art and all that stuff. So there's the direct shaming of the poetry itself. And
Hmm.
then there's also the indirect shaming through the shaming in our culture of the will, the mind, not the mind is the one thing, because that's the iambic. The mind is okay. Like if you're gonna try to impress people, you can use iambic, you can use the mind, and people will be like, oh, great poetry. Even if it's free verse, check out the free verse out there. 9/10 of it is unconsciously iambic in one way or another. Maybe
Interesting.
not the whole thing. Maybe it'll start with an iambic line or
I
end
do
with one,
that.
or there'll be a crucial line in the middle that's iambic where the poet gets all poignant and everything. It's like, oh, the
That's
the
I.
beauty, the powerful, the powerful something that my father knew or something. That'll be the iambic line. It's just, and people are so proud of them. Oh, they wrote iambic, and yeah, you do that, and we all do that, because if we haven't been taught another meter or other meters, then we default to that, and it feels right. And my PhD dissertation, which became a book called The Ghost of Meter, here this was on the ghost of meter, culture and prosody in American free verse, still in print. That is a book where I basically analyzed exactly this point in by going through centuries of metrically variable verse and scanning all of it. I scanned all of Whitman, I scanned all of Dickinson,
Yeah.
I scanned all of Lord and Ginsberg and Sexton, and I discovered exactly the same thing we're talking about, that iambic had this kind of currency, which created a lot of pain and resistance among certain poets, but mixed feelings, because it's the only one, right? It's the meter of the patriarchy, essentially. And it brings out to us that the patriarchy is about the mind, privileging of the mind. So just to finish the last little point, because there's so much going on here. I know it's an amazing topic, right? It just brings in so many things. But then so aside from the mind, our will, our body, our heart, and our spirit, which all have those other meters associated with them, are constantly being discredited tamped down, trivialized, exploited, ignored, shamed in this culture. And so indirectly, that affects our ability to connect with all of these meters. So I've tried to develop a system that's very sensitive and flexible because I know what it's like. I mean, I never grew up writing these meters myself. It's okay, I keep talking.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
for
yeah,
it. Go for it.
absolutely.
So I never grew up with these meters myself. Like everybody else, I grew up with iambic. And then when I was in seventh grade, like many people, when I was growing up, my teacher said, oh, well, real poets write free verse. We don't write that old-fashioned stuff anymore. So I stopped writing in meter because I wanted to be a real poet. And my mother, who's also a wonderful poet and a witch, bless her, her birthday was yesterday, her 104th
Oh,
birthday would have been.
Mm.
Yeah. Maggie Finch, she has a wonderful book of poetry out. It's on my website
Maggie
and under my
Finch.
under my books. Her book is there. Yeah, her poems are really good. But I saw her, she loved meter and she had an inheritance of that. And I saw her fighting to write in free verse and be accepted and, struggling with that struggle. So I knew all about it. And then it wasn't until I was whatever, 30 or something, getting my PhD, writing this book here, The Ghost of Meter, that I began to look at the theory of what I had uncovered. And the theory said dactylic is a meter of resistance. Dickinson and Whitman, very rare, powerful moments in their poetry. In dactylic meter, they would find their authentic power and they would
Interesting.
fight this inherited bullshit of the iambic that was causing them so much,
Mhm.
back and forth. And so after I finished the dissertation, I just thought if I'm going to be an honest person, I have to start writing in dactylic meter too. So, how could I not after what I've learned? And I was terrified. I didn't know how to do it. I hadn't done it like everybody else. I only knew a couple of little silly children's poems in dactylic meter or Longfellow, who everybody despised. And so it was hard, but I did. And I decided to write an epic. I can show a copy. I get a copy. I'm showing my books today.
Mhm.
Okay. So I wrote an epic. This is Among the Goddesses, which is in dactyls, and it's an
Mhm.
epic about abortion.
Wow.
And it was really an amazing experience to write it because, as I said, I was just new to it all. And sometimes I would slip up and I would fall back into iambic meter. And the way I could tell that I fell into iambic meter was not by looking at the meter. It was by looking at the meaning of the word of the
Mhm.
line. I'd be like, that line sounds so different. Like that line, it would be like more of a cold or a judgmental or a distant. It just wouldn't be in the heart space. And then I would look at the line and I'd realize that the meter was off as well. But it was interesting that, you know, the correlations really held up. So after that,
Can I
I
add
didn't
to that real
stop.
quick, just for the
Yeah,
people who I
sure.
know you know this, but for the people watching or listening to this, that all ancient Greek religious literature is in dactyls, all of it. Everything from the Homeric hymns, the Orphic hymns, the Iliad, the Odyssey, even these tablets that Orphic mystics would be buried with that would have instructions on what to do after you die are all in dactyls. And I always
Wow.
wondered why specifically everything's in dactylic hexameter. But if that being as that being the meter of the heart and authenticity, that makes a lot of sense. It's literally the meter that we use to connect with the gods and the goddesses.
It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. That's so wonderful. And don't get me started on translation. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Bless him. I just went to the poetry festival, Sierra Poetry Festival in California last weekend. Wonderful conference, wonderful conference. But I was on a panel with, bless him, this eminent translator of Greek and Latin poetry. And so I said to him, do you use the original meters? And he said, "Oh no, I don't imitate the original meters. I would not go there to imitate them. English language can't do that. Instead, I
Mm.
use iambic instead of dactylic because that's our equivalent." And of course, that's how most translators think. They're thinking through the mind, like, "Oh
Very
yes, that's the
educated.
one they always used. That was their standard, so we'll use our standard. Duh, it doesn't translate. What about the body, for fuck's sakes? Like, the body is the difference that matters in media. That's the whole point. Like, you
Mhm.
can't just have the theoretical equivalent and think it's going to work.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing
But
what you
that's a
just said. I mean,
challenge. That's the challenge. We need to start translating these
Into
yes,
into
dactyl
exactly.
dactyl.
That's one
dactyls.
of the reasons I'm so excited to teach meter to people, because I meters to people, so that we can start to get the good translations, so we can really feel the wisdom of the ancients. I'm
He's
just
a
translating
translator
today.
of ancient Greek. We need to teach him
I'll add,
meter.
Right.
yeah. I'll add, I could do I
Wonderful.
could turn the hymns, I could do dactyls. I could do the
Fantastic.
dactylic hexameter. Yeah.
So great. And if
Yeah.
they have a spondy or something, use it. So I'm just doing, yesterday, I started working on this Altai fire song, which
Mm.
is from Apello, Colorado, who has this beautiful foundation. I can't remember the name of it right now, but maybe we could put it in the show notes. It's an
Yeah.
Mhm.
incredible foundation for recovering ancient spiritual wisdom.
Mhm.
And she sent me the video of these people in Uzbekistan. I'm pretty sure that's where it is, the Altai people who have this ancient, unbroken tradition, and they worship fire, and they were singing this song around the fire, and she had translated it, but nobody had translated it into the language. So this is the transliteration of
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
And I'm just starting the process of translating it into the rhythm that I hear in the song and the
Yeah.
video, so that it'll match. So you can sing it to the tune, and so you'll be able to channel the energy of it. So
Mhm.
great. Yay. And you're going to do it with Greek. I love
I
that.
could
If
I
you
could
have
I could do it. Yeah. I mean, even like the my go-to translations for the Orphic hymns, Thomas Taylor, God bless him. He was a practicing Neoplatonist. He certainly believed in it, but it's all in iambs. It's all
oh
he
yeah.
uses iambs for all of it. And I
Yeah.
think there was
Oh
recently a
great.
translation of the Iliad or the Odyssey that was done with dactyls all the way through.
I don't think so. Emily
No?
Wilson's is iambic.
Okay. Oh
Um,
yeah, it's iambic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, it's iambic. Again, I was so disappointed. I always am. And I would love to, be a consultant if you want some feedback or something. I believe in this so passionately. I feel like if we could take these ancient texts and bring them into the original meters, what a huge energetic
Mhm.
change in the world that would be to
Oh
have
yeah,
them
absolutely.
available in English, you know?
Yeah,
It would change everything.
yeah.
So powerful.
I'm
Wow.
declaring it. We're going to do this. We will find
Yes.
a way. Because I mean, we're a, we're a school of practicing Greco
Greco
Greco-Celtic
Greco-Celtic. Yeah.
Greco-Celtic. I
Greco-Celtic
love it.
Greco-Celtic.
Egyptian mages. So it's like we need this
We do. Yeah.
for our work.
That's
We
part of
genuinely need it.
our religious liturgy. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. I would do it.
Yeah.
I need some
Yeah.
quiz. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I
Yay.
let's
would
do team
I,
effort.
I would love to do it. It's so important. I recite when I'm doing my rituals, I always recite in the original Greek. And I recently did a presentation on the planet Saturn at a workshop at a big conference, and
Sacred
at
Spaces
sacred the
Conference.
Sacred Spaces conference. And at the end, we did a brief Saturn ritual, and I recited it in dactylic hexameter. I decided the hymn in dactylic hexameter, and a couple people came up to me afterward, and they had never heard of this meter before. They never heard this hymn before, and they said that something about the rhythm specifically, every time they
Yeah.
got to a long syllable, they felt like the energy of the whole space lifted up a bit. So there would be these two
Mm.
shorts or like one long, and then it would lift up and it would lift up every single time you got back to like that long syllable.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
their experience, and I had never received this reflection before, that from the outside looking in, that they felt like it just helped to elevate this energy of the space so
Yeah.
quickly so that you could
Yeah.
reach the God.
So
And
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and the Greeks had the thumos, right? And the
yeah.
thumos, which we often translate, I think, not as maybe mind, but
The two
nobody really knows how to
thumos
translate
is
it, right?
like yeah, heart, yeah, kind of like heart
It's the
passion.
thyroid gland,
Yeah,
actually, I
yeah, yeah,
think, and it's
yeah, yeah.
located around in the heart, right? But yeah, to them it was the mind, right? Wasn't it the
Mhm.
seat of consciousness and thinking
Like
in
like
ancient
the
Greek? So
Egyptians, yeah. And like most
yeah, yeah,
indigenous cultures.
yeah.
Mhm.
And meter, I think, dactyls would be the meter of the thumos, really. I
Yeah.
mean, so yeah, it was literally elevating up the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it actually does make sense culturally that we've shifted from dactyls to iambs for that purpose,
Yeah.
because we changed our loci
To the mind.
to the
Right.
brain for the
The
mind
mind to
rather
the
than the
brain.
heart for the mind. And the great
Yeah.
work of this
Yeah.
age, the
Yeah.
great work of, you know, bringing back the matriarchy and goddess worship is to allow the consciousness to
Yeah.
be
To
in the
move
heart
from
again.
cleverness to wisdom.
Yes.
And maybe AI will actually help us in that way somehow,
I
possibly,
don't
If we
or
can find
taking
it,
over the
I don't
I
know
cleverness.
hope
about that.
so.
But
I
I'm
hope so.
thinking, but I'm
But
thinking positively. That's what
I very
I'm
appreciate
hoping
the
for.
positive thinking. I don't trust a whole lot that comes out of
Well,
personally.
because
Bit of a
who
headache.
was, but for so long they thought of human beings defined by the mind, right?
Yeah.
But actually we're really not. I mean, Genevieve Vaughn, the great economist of the gift economy, the maternal gift economy, she says that she wants to redefine, instead of Homo sapiens, she wants to define us as Homo donans,
no, no.
giving. Then not by thinking, but by giving, because
Oh,
this is the essential human act in her philosophy, is the act of giving. Her books are amazing. Genevieve Vaughn. Great. And she was there at the ASWM where we just were.
really?
She was, yeah,
I wish I
she's
could have met
amazing.
her.
Yeah, I think I met
We
her.
were just too burnt out to go to that meeting afterwards.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
I really wanted to, and I would love to connect and become part of.
yeah. I
Put
hope
that
you
in
will.
we'll put that in the show
She lives in
notes.
Austin and in Italy, and she's in her 80s now. She's incredible. What a darling. I actually got to sit with her on the plane by incredible serendipity on the way to Aspen. But so I was just reminded of her personal heart power. And I think her philosophy is just brilliant. And it's so simple and lucent, like super. Her writing is just a joy to read. She's really amazing. But anyway, this idea, Homo donans, like, yeah, donans. So dactyls would be the meter of the donans, of giving,
I love
really
that.
would.
And I'm wondering if there's this thing that you told me a long time ago when I was working with you. Um, I had I wrote some poems for herbs in syllabics, right? You started easy in syllabics, right? And the one for Hawthorne, I remember you commenting, you know, like this came out as iambs, and be careful because iambs can only tell a Christ story.
I don't know if that was me, but it sounds amazing.
No, I think
Or maybe
I'm
that's how you
no,
heard it.
Annie, it
I
could have
love that.
only come from you. I will go back and show you. It's
Wow.
like because it did turn into like that poem turned into like a Christ story. So the reason I'm bringing this up
Holy
is because
cow.
connecting because I'm wondering if the iambs tell like the story of like rather than giving, right? Like dactyls, like of the heart, if it tells a story of sacrifice,
Of course it does.
Mhm.
right?
That's the story of the mind, is
See,
sacrifice.
yeah. See, you did say that.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure
Wow.
you did.
It totally makes
So
sense.
you move from giving to this idea that you have to sacrifice, right? Because
Yeah.
and that makes total sense. Sorry, I'm getting excited.
Yeah,
The
it
mind,
does.
its function is just problem solving, right? Like
Yeah,
fear, looking for
exactly.
danger,
Fear,
right? So it
all or
thinks,
nothing, all or nothing.
yep,
Yeah. And so when the mind realizes that it is not 100%, it's actually only 20%. This is why I have the tattoo. Basically, most importantly, to remind me and everyone that the mind is only 20%. Only 20%.
20%.
It's not half, it's not, 80, it's not a third, it's 20%, one-fifth. And so the mind, when it realizes it's only 20% and not, 80 or 100%, it's like it feels like a sacrifice.
Mm. Mm.
Ay, ay, ay.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Whew,
so
I got
fun.
chills. I love this.
It's amazing. So anyway, yeah, I forget where we
Okay,
were, but that's
well,
probably enough. Oh no, oh actually, I was just gonna say one more thing, which is that so I think I was telling the story of how I didn't start out this way, and and how I had to go through the PhD, the dissertation, the dactyls, and then gradually adding other meters to it, and then in ritual, working with students and everything, realizing how important this really was. And then I had to start, when I left the academy, I was a professor until 10 years ago. And when I left the academy, I started my private little school, like you've got a private school, Meter Magic Spiral, which was a place where we do 1 meter a month and we do it together in a spiritual, holistic way. Um, and we keep spiraling through it. And that's where I was getting to, because you were saying that you had issues, it was hard. You have all these blocks, no wonder, and everybody does. And so I was saying that that's why I designed this very delicate system that I really feel good about. And it's called Meter Magic Spiral, because every 6 months we spiral through it again and again and again. And so everybody has a different pattern of how you can connect with all of these meters. And so what I was saying was, for me, I started with the dactyls writing my epic, and then I gradually learned the others. But I had a hell of a time learning and with all respect to the goddess Hel, who I love, but learning the Anapest. That was the hardest one for me. It took forever. And it was because it was the will. And I was a very people-pleasing person. And in second stage of my birth, I had an issue. I had like problem pushing, like that's a personality thing that comes with that. And, it was really, I think that was why it was hard for me to embrace the power of my will fully. And so that meter just was stubborn, and I waited and waited, like, oh gosh, at least, I don't know, 12 years after all the others, and I still hadn't gotten the Anapest. So, and I'll have to think about exactly how it happened, because there must be a story, but somehow it suddenly just like worked. But I feel like, that really helped me to design Meter Magic Spiral in such a way that, the idea is that when you're going through each month, if that meter doesn't call to you, I really don't advise people to force it. Like, if it had been me at that time, I would say, don't force the Anapest. Just like cruise through, read the stuff, look at what everybody else is doing, learn about it, but don't make yourself go there if you're not ready. Go on to the next one and just keep spiraling through, and eventually you will get to, all of them, or, maybe not, but you'll get to exactly where you need to be. And so I really feel that. And now I'm teaching another series of online things, and it's the same way. It's like you can go to anyone, and
And we will put the
you
link
can
to
spiral
Annie's
through
classes
them.
here.
Yeah.
And can I ask, well, two things. First, could you give us an example of the Anapest?
Yes. Well, I'll give you a poem. It's now, I'm glad to say, in my new book, it'll be the first, because I now start everything with the Anapest, which was fairly recent, only 4 years ago. I used to start with iambs in the East for no particular reason, except that so many things start in the East, the sun goes up and everything. And then I was doing this 9-day intensive, I forget the name of the massage system, but it's like 4 or 5 hours a day for 9 days. Very profound massage experience. And my wonderful guide and teacher and massager through that, she used to play this chakra meditation, and it started with the root chakra, of course. And that was when I realized, all of a sudden, like on the fifth day, that I had to put the will first. That I had to put the will as the first of the spiral, like to start it. And I now actually just recently, last week, met a wonderful woman, Michaeline Logue, who's going to be working with me. And she said, well, there's two in the center, so why not start with one of the ones? She's making a heroine's journey based on the five directions, and she's starting with one of the center meters. I'm not sure which one she put. I would start with Credix maybe, and then so it starts in the spirit, starts in the center, and then it goes into the will, then the mind, then the body, then the heart, then the spirit, and then back to the center, which makes so much sense. And also that order really came out using meter as a self-transformative tool, because it's not only for producing poems, obviously, and it's not only for devotion. It can also be used for self transformation and personal growth. Like, when you write in these different meters, it gives you so much insight into how those forces work within you. And I haven't given an anapestic example yet, but I will in a minute. But so, like, for example, um, the well, I'll do that now. It's a brand new poem. It's finally finished after a long time, and it's about orgasm, and it's going to be the first poem in my new book.
Nice.
And I think you actually heard it at
At the
SU.
conference, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. But it's sort of new still, so I'm trying to remember how it starts.
What's the structure to the Anapest, the rhythm to it?
Cup one. It's
Cup, cup, one.
triple rising, so it's the opposite of the dactyl in that way.
Oh, as okay. Yeah.
Yeah, triple rising instead of triple falling. It's called Come. Will you come like a flame through the goddess's name? Will you call her out loud? Will you come? Will you come through the gate where it's never too late? Will you call her out loud? Will you come? Will you be in the buzz of the moving she does? Will you call her out loud? Will you come? Will you come till the touch of one more is too much? Will you call her out loud when you come? Will you come till you find her, unrobe and unbind her, unfold and unwind her, and call her and call her and call her and call her? Will you call her out loud? Will you come?
Oof, love it.
So, yeah.
We do need to wrap
Um,
up.
yeah, we should start wrapping up. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, Annie. And I know you and Matthew could
We have a lot of
we will
time too.
definitely have to have a part two and get down on this
Yeah.
translation collaboration. But so can for the people who are, interested in your work, are you so you've started a new round of Magic Meter
Mm.
Spiral, and people can jump on late, right? Because you can do
They
singles.
totally can. Yeah, yeah, you can do single. Yeah, there's actually three things that I do now on a regular basis. At the beginning of each month. So, and they're all keyed into each other. So you can do one, two, or three, and they're all be in the same meter. So, and you can join any month and you can continue as long as you want. Spiral on, join, pop on, hop off anytime. The first one is at the beginning of each month. It's a spell casting circle. So we set intention for the month and we use the meter to do it and we cast the spells together with each other, on each other, through each other. And it's a really beautiful ceremony that I've developed over all this time, bringing together meter and magic in like this really interwoven way. And that's at the beginning, that's actually the first Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. ET, 4 p.m. PT.
Mhm.
And then the third Sunday of each month at 11 a.m. PT, 2 p.m. ET, third Sunday of each month is Meter Magic Journey, and that's where we take the same meter and we go deep into it. We read great examples, we scan it, we do the whole scansion thing, and we chant it aloud, and we just read different great poems and kind of do what I call deep scansion, where you allow the scansion to cast light on the meaning of the poem and back and forth. It's an incredible
Will you grab
experience.
that? Will you grab that orange book? I want to show them your book on
Oh, I have it right
scansion.
here.
Oh, you have it
Okay.
right here. Okay, all right, great.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is Hilma F. Klem's art. But yeah, this is really, yeah, you were there.
Yeah,
You were there doing all that
that's a
great
golden
stuff.
book.
So
Yeah, I've got it right
this is
there. I traveled around
scansion,
Bali with it.
and
Yep.
scansion is the word for how you mark the patterns of a poem so that you can really see what's going on. And it's essential for really understanding meter, understanding how poems work, and also for writing your own. And if you're wondering why is that essential, because poetry existed without writing forever. That's a really good question. I mean, for so many millennia before people wrote it down. That's an excellent question, and the reason is because we've lost track so much that most of us find scansion as a way to bring us back into our bodies and teach ourselves to learn again. But obviously, of course, once you know them all, you can. It's still amazing, though. I mean, I certainly don't need to scan things, but when I do, I always am blown away by the mystery and the power of it. It's just an incredible experience to really get deep into the grains of how it's working, and how just one little difference between a half wand, we didn't talk about that, but that's like a half stress, between that and or a full wand, like how that will change the entire repercussions spiritually of an entire poem. It's amazing. But anyway, so we do that. And then we also have a workshop component to that class. So if someone has written poems in that rhythm, they can bring them into the class and share them as well. So we do all of that on the third Sunday of the month. And then finally, there's this um, ongoing community called Meter Magic Spiral, which is 24/7 asynchronous, kind of like a private Facebook group or whatever. And I'm there, I answer questions. There's other people working on the same meter of the month. We do a collaboration at the end of each month together. And it's just a really sweet, supportive community. It also includes like a little poets networking uh, corner if you want that um, for um, supporting yourself professionally or POBIZ, all that. So yeah, anyway, so I've got these three things on an ongoing basis. And then I also do special things, retreats. I was going to do a retreat in India, but I'm not sure if I will.
Well, I hope you all will, are excited to stay up to date with Annie's work. I'm going to be jumping into Meter Magic Spiral as soon as I can.
Yay!
We're a little bit of transition from, so very, very excited about it. And I'm sure we will. I would love to have you on again, Annie. If you have any words that you want to share, please put them in the comments. Remember to we really appreciate it if you could like this video, if you could comment, share it with your friends. I genuinely believe this work that Annie is doing is so important for the continued ensoulment of our lives and of our bodies. It's like she's like she was talking about the getting into the scansion, and when you start to realize that you haven't been paying attention to this in language, I feel like there's even like a little bit of like fear, like, oh, this is so much, right? Because you realize like how much of your language, your communication, your thought that you haven't been paying attention to. But it is, yeah, also where I can still consider myself very much at the beginning. But I
Yeah,
thank you for holding this poll and keeping this alive for us, Annie. Really appreciate it.
thank you so much. Thank you for bringing me to this incredible community you're building. I'm very honored and delighted. It's been so much fun. The time just flew. And also I want to thank you for that last thing you said about the fear, because there is that, but I think we want to bring back the word awe.
Oh,
You know, awe is a kind of fear, but it's a different kind of fear. And that's also a big part of it, right?
yeah,
And we don't have much for that in our world, but that is
yeah,
truly, and I hadn't really thought of it the same before. You just reminded me that truly the word awe is the word for how I feel about the meters. They're such tools for everything that I feel that I need in life. Like they kind of are ways to, yeah, it's amazing. And so doing it with other people is so key, I think, because it's for many of us it's a communal experience
yeah,
as they are used, traditionally. So I think that also helps with that feeling, which
yeah.
is why Meter Magic Spiral is nice, because people are there um, together all the time.
Thank you, Annie. I'm convinced. I know that's what I've been missing. I've only gotten taste of it with you and your work. And yeah, I believe that I hope that I hope that a lot of poets end up joining. It's gonna be so good when we're able to uh put more of ourselves into
So
this
many things
into
can
this
come out of it.
lineage.
I want to share with you just my one of my fantasies is a new create an epic, right? A creation epic, but this one will be crowdsourced in all these meters. And I've got a map of it, like of all the five, it'd be like a book for each of the five directions. And then each one would, like, different people would write different stanzas, people would sign up. And so you'd have like the whole book. The first book would be in anapestic meter, and it would talk about like whatever about fire, and then when you get to the trochaic meter or the plants or whatever, however, all the different aspects, it'd be like one of those compendia of the world, like all the different the lore and the information that people are finding now, this rediscovering and reweaving for ourselves, this beautiful information that you're sharing in your school. But what if it were all put into meter? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
like when enough people know this stuff, we can do things like that.
Yeah.
Like what fun for a poet, right? Just to, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well,
So
it
we're gonna
is,
wrap
yeah,
up.
we were
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, definitely, yeah, super excited, and we will definitely keep talking about this. And we're gonna have Annie in the School of Heaven and Earth and in Sybil's Cave very soon. I'm hoping we'll talk to her about that after we stop recording. But thank you everybody so much for being here. Thank you so much, Annie. Like I said,
Thank you.
like, comment, share, click the links, and yeah, we'll see you all next time. All right. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.